Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Suranandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanacharinati Yamunatira Vanacharinati Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Sodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanacharinatira Yamunatira Vanacharinatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanandari Gopi Jana Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanandari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yasodanandana Bradajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bradajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhujakacharya Asaturasada Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Śrīla A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Śrīla Prabhupada Ki, Anantakoti Vaishnavanda Ki Jaya, Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur Ki Jaya, ISKCON Founder Acharya Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jaya, Prem Sigaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jaya, Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavandam Ki Jai, Shri Maya Punavdam Ki Jai, Gangamaya Ki Jai, Jamunamaya Ki Jai, Tulsidevi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Gau Premanandi, how glorious some devotees, how glorious some devotees, how glorious some devotees, how glorious Shri Guru and Shri Guranga. I'll need a book. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12, Vṛtrāsura's Glorious Death, text number 23. Shri Suku Vacha Iti Bhruvanav Anyoyam Dharma Yasaya Nripa Yudhate Mahaviryav Indra Vṛtrāsura Yudham Pati Shrisukuvacha Iti Bruvha Iti Bruvha Anyoyam Dharma Jigyasaya Nripa Yudhate Mahavirya Indravritta Yudhampati Shri Sukuvacha Iti Bruvhana Vanyoyam Dharma Jigyasaya Nripa Yudhate Mahavirya Indravritta Yudhampati Shri Sukuvacha Iti Bruvhana Vanyoyam Dharma Jigyasaya Nripa Yudhate Mahavirya Indravritta Yudhampati Shri Sukuvacha Iti Bruvhana Vanyoyam Dharma Jigyasaya Nripa Yudhate Mahavirya Indravritta Yudhampati Anybody online? Sri Sukuvacha, Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Iti, thus, Bruvana, speaking, Anyoyam, to one another, Dharma Jigyasaya, with a desire to know the Supreme, ultimate religious principle, devotional service. Nripa, O King, Yudhate, fought, Mahavirya, both very powerful, Indra, King Indra, Vṛtrāsura, and Vṛtrāsura, Yudham, Pati, both great military commanders. Translation. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Vṛtrāsura and King Indra spoke about devotional service even on the battlefield. And then, as a matter of duty, they again began fighting. My dear king, both of them were great fighters and were equally powerful. Well, this is, I guess, similar to the Bhagavad Gita. It was Krishna is speaking to Arjuna about devotional service, the highest level of devotional service, and then they went on to fight. So there's no purport. So we'll go on. There's quite a few verses, and this is going to be the end of the chapter. Text 24. O Maharaj Parikshit, Vṛtrāsura, who was completely able to subdue his enemy, took his iron club, whirled it around, aimed it at Indra, and then threw it at him with his left hand. Text 25. With his thunderbolt named Sataparvan, Indra simultaneously cut to pieces Vṛtrāsura's club and his remaining hand. Text 26. Vṛtrāsura, bleeding profusely, his two arms cut off at their roots, looked very beautiful, like a flying mountain whose wings have been cut to pieces by Indra. Purport. It appears from the statement of this verse that sometimes there are flying mountains, and that their wings are cut by the thunderbolt of Indra. Vṛtrāsura's huge body resembled such a mountain. Text 27, 28, and 29. Vṛtrāsura was very powerful in physical strength and influence. He placed his lower jaw on the ground and his upper jaw in the sky. His mouth became very deep, like the sky itself, and his tongue resembled a large serpent. With his fearful, death-like teeth, he seemed to be trying to devour the entire universe. Thus assuming a gigantic body, the great demon, Vṛtrāsura, shook even the mountains and began crushing the surface of the earth with his legs, as if he were the Himalayas walking about. He came before Indra and swallowed him and Airavata, his carrier, just as a big python might swallow an elephant. That would have to be a pretty big python. Text number 30. When the demigods, along with Brahma, other Prajapatis, and other great saintly persons, saw that Indra had been swallowed by the demon, they became very morose. They lamented, "Alas! What a calamity! What a calamity!" Text 31. The protective armor of Narayan, which Indra possessed, was identical with Narayan himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Protected by that armor and by his own mystic power, King Indra, although swallowed by Vṛtrāsura, did not die within the demon's belly. Text 32. With his thunderbolt, King Indra, who was also extremely powerful, pierced through Vṛtrāsura's abdomen and came out. Indra, the killer of the demon Bala, then immediately cut off Vṛtrāsura's head, which was as high as the peak of a mountain. Text 33. Although the thunderbolt revolved around Vṛtrāsura's neck with great speed, separating his head from his body, took 1 complete year, 360 days, the time in which the sun, moon, and other luminaries complete a northern and southern journey. Then, at the suitable time for Vṛtrāsura to be killed, his head fell to the ground. Text 34. When Vṛtrāsura was killed, the Gandharvas and Siddhas and the heavenly planets beat kettle drums in jubilation. With Vedic hymns they celebrated the prowess of Indra, the killer of Vṛtrāsura, praising Indra and showering flowers upon him with great pleasure. Text 35, this is the last verse of the chapter. O King Parikshit, subduer of enemies, the living spark then came forth from Vṛtrāsura's body and returned home back to Godhead, while all the demigods looked on. He entered the transcendental world to become an associate of Lord Saṅkarṣaṇa. Purport. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura explains that Indra, not Vṛtrāsura, was actually killed. He says that when Vṛtrāsura swallowed King Indra and his carrier, the elephant, he thought, quote, "Now I have killed Indra, and therefore there is no more need of fighting. Now let me return home back to Godhead." Unquote. Thus he stopped all his bodily activities and became situated in trance, taking advantage of the silence of Vṛtrāsura's body. Indra pierced the demon's abdomen, and because of Vṛtrāsura's trance, Indra was able to come out. Now Vṛtrāsura was in yoga samadhi, and therefore although King Indra wanted to cut his throat, the demon's neck was so stiff that Indra's thunderbolt took 360 days to cut it to pieces. Actually, it was the body left by Vṛtrāsura that was cut to pieces by Indra. Vṛtrāsura himself was not killed. In his original consciousness, Vṛtrāsura returned home back to Godhead to become an associate of Lord Saṅkarṣaṇa. Here the word Alokam means the transcendental world, Vaikuntha Loka, where Saṅkarṣaṇa eternally resides. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 6th canto, 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Vṛtrāsura's Glorious Death. So he achieved the goal, went back to Godhead. So that he was cursed, but that curse turned into a benediction. Generally, people aren't cursed to become demons. I don't know of any other instance where someone was cursed to become a demon, and then, as a so-called demon, then went back to Godhead at the end of his life. Pretty amazing pastime. Actually, this pastime it's one of the longest pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. 11 chapters of the Bhagavatam. It's not over yet. This is just the middle. Now you can find out why such a person, he seems like a devotee. How did a devotee become a demon? So now we're going to hear that whole amazing pastime. So we're just in the middle of this now. So Vṛtrāsura, now he's gone back to Godhead, but he died before he died, because his material life was finished. His material life died. Like there's one devotee, Bhakti Tirtha Swami. Before he left his body, he was preaching like this, that we have to die before we die. Our material life has to die before we die. So this is the situation with Vṛtrāsura. His material life was finished, it was dead. And therefore he was able to live in the spiritual world, back to Godhead. So therefore Vishwanath Chakravarti says that actually it was Indra who was killed, and Vṛtrāsura, he lived on the spiritual world. He achieved what we're trying to achieve, going back to Godhead. So he was thinking of Krishna. And we also were trying to come to this point where we're always thinking of Krishna. It's said in the Srimad Bhagavatam that one moment in which we aren't thinking of Krishna is the greatest loss. It's the greatest anomaly, the greatest loss. So this is the goal, to always think of Krishna. And we have so much facility for this to happen. We have so many nice books, that we could hear over and over and over again. We have the Hare Krishna mantra. We have devotees that help us remember Krishna, Krishna Gita. So we have a great opportunity to perfect this human form of life, as Vṛtrāsura did. And this process is it's a purifying process. It's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Jaya yasu ya kosham nigirnam analoyata. That this process, it dissolves the contamination in the subtle body. It dissolves the contamination within the subtle body. Imperceptibly, we can't see how it's happening. And this verse goes on to say, just like we honor prasadam, and we don't know how all the nutrients are being distributed throughout the body. You know, it's like it's a mystery. Even doctors, you know, it's like all the vitamins and everything is being distributed throughout the body for our health. So it's a mystery how the contamination is dissolved from the subtle body. In the spiritual world, we also have the subtle body, but it's pure. You know, the mind is there, the intelligence is there, the ego is there, but it's pure. Ego means identity. So the pure. Everybody has a pure identity in the spiritual world. Everybody feels, I'm servant of Krishna. Here is false identity. I'm servant of this body. I'm a servant of my wife, my dog, the country. False ego. And so we're trying to become free of this false ego, and become, as it's said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, nirvana. Means no material contamination. So many times when I'm distributing books at the university, people come by with these shirts, nirvana. I ask them, hey, do you know what that means? Nirvana means freedom of material contamination. I said that to one guy a couple of days ago. He said, yeah, that's me. Little does he know. It's not easy to get free of material contamination. Another meaning, Prabhupada says, it makes one's mind one with Krishna. Free of material contamination, our mind becomes one with Krishna. In other words, whatever Krishna likes, we like. It's like the Pradyumna, one son of Krishna. If he liked something and Krishna didn't like it, he would hate it. And if he didn't like it and Krishna liked it, then he would love it. You know, just like we have the experience. Previously, we were all eating meat, and we liked it. But now, if I offered Balaram $1 million, Balaram, I'll give you $1 million if you eat this hamburger. What would you say, Balaram? No, thank you. We hate it now. Something that we used to, now we hate it. Like, it's just a thought. It's like, keep your $1 million, keep your hamburger, and just chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, things that we used to like, just like so many things in the supermarket that we used to eat. But now, no interest. It's like I went to one family gathering, Christmas gathering. My brother offered a fig Newton to me. I said, no, thank you. He said, now I know something's really wrong. Because I used to love those things. But now, because it's boga, Krishna wasn't offered to Krishna. Not interested at all. So our mind becomes one with Krishna. Whatever Krishna likes, we like. Whatever he doesn't like, we don't like. So, be nice, our mind to become one with Krishna. Our mind become one with Krishna's mind. So this is the path that we're on, that we hopefully reach this stage. So Indra, it's not unusual for Indra to get himself into some type of trouble. So this whole pastime is his disrespecting his spiritual master, Brihaspati. And because of this whole thing went on. He killed Vishwarup, a Brahmin. Now he killed another one. Now he's got next chapter. I think the next chapter is King Indra afflicted by sinful reaction. And because of his now killing another, not just a Brahmin. He wasn't just a Brahmin. He was a great devotee, which is worse. And this is called the Hati Mata offense. To kill a great devotee. And he was lamenting also. Now the demigods were joyous. The demon had been killed. But he was lamenting. Because now again he's gotten himself into trouble. There was another instance where he offended his spiritual master. And he became a pig. Now he had become a pig for some time. And then the management wasn't going on so good in the heavenly planets. So Lord Brahma, he minimized the curse. And he went to Indra and said, Indra, the curse has been minimized. Now you can go back to heaven. What? Go back to heaven? But I have my beautiful wife here. I have my piglets. How could you be serious? How could you even suggest such a thing? And then Brahma understood how powerful Maya can be. And then he knocked out the Maya, he killed the family. And then he said, all right, let's go back. This is too much suffering here. I'll go back to heaven now. Another time he offended this Gautama Rishi. He was attracted to his wife. And he gave him probably the worst curse that one can achieve. His body was covered with vaginas. And he was just, oh my God, please. Gautama Rishi, please forgive me, please. Don't do this to me, please. Minimize this curse. That's how he said, all right. He thought, all right, that's too much. So he gave him eyes. That's why to this day he has eyes, many eyes. Narada Muni was also cursed. Such a great devotee, one of the greatest devotees ever, because there was one person who was, he had his sons out. They're being trained to do as he wanted, to create progeny. But Narada Muni preached to them, and they decided to be renounced, take the spiritual life. And not only one set of sons, but another set of sons. Again, he preached to them. Of course, it wasn't difficult to preach to them. He just told them, just do as your big brothers have done. Take seriously your spiritual life. So that was a little easier. So Narada Muni was cursed to not be able to stay in one place for more than 3 days. He thought that was just such a horrible curse. What was his name? Daksha. He thought that could be the worst curse, because then you can't take up grihastha life. You're just in one place for 3 days. You can't enjoy life. But Narada Muni thought, oh, what a wonderful curse. You can't stay in one place more than 3 days. Then you can't be attached. You stay in one place a long time, and you become attached. You gather things. You gather a lot of things. But if you're always moving, you can't gather a lot of things. Right? And Śrīla Prabhupada, he said, I had also been cursed by the parents of my disciples. I can't stay too long in one place. Many parents were very upset with Prabhupada because they gave up their material life, took to spiritual life. But many of them were also very happy because a lot of the disciples that Prabhupada made, they were into all kinds of nonsense, drugs and alcohol and all kinds of foolish things. And they would come and they would thank Prabhupada. Thank you so much. My son was so degraded and now he's become a nice person. So he did a lot of wonderful service around the world and still is. He reasons ill who say the Vaishnavas die while still living in sound. The Vaishnavas die to live, and living spread the holy name around. So Prabhupada, he gave us such a nice opportunity to give up our material attachments. And think of the importance of devotional service. It's most important. Devotional service is what is most important. To utilize our time in serving Krishna, this is what is most important. So maybe I'll stop there. Is there any question? Yes, Mukunda.
I just have two small questions. One was with the second verse talking about mountains with wings flying, and I'm wondering, are we to understand that all mountains and all hills have that backstory, or just like it's just some rare thing? I mean, do we accept that all mountains have like a soul, like a particular soul, like for every mountain, every hill, or just some? So I guess one is souls, and then like winged mountains. Have you heard anything about that? Has anyone here heard anything?
I don't know. That's a little bit beyond my knowledge. We don't get much information also about flying mountains, but it's there in Shastra, so we should accept it. It's one of those inconceivable things. But there are some. Be interesting to see that.
Yeah, maybe I could look into it. The other question, small question, was when the text 35, when it was saying Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura said Indra was actually the one who died, that it wasn't, I'm pretty sure, but it wasn't totally obvious to me. He's just saying figuratively Indra died because he had to stay in the material world.
Right.
That's all he's saying. Okay.
Because he had fallen so low as to again killed. I mean, this is he was such a pure devotee. He went right back to Godhead.
Yeah.
So very inauspicious. So spiritually, I think he died because, I mean, the absolute worst thing anybody can do is kill a pure devotee. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I can't think of anything worse than that. Even, I mean, even in the Battle of Kurukshetra, they were shooting arrows at Krishna, trying to kill Krishna. But even worse than that is to try to kill his devotee, because devotee is more dear than Krishna. So that's probably the worst thing that anybody could possibly do.
What are the punishments for that?
So, and therefore he was considered dead. But Indra, he learns, he picks himself up. I mean, Indra is also, he's not an ordinary person. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, amongst demigods, I am Indra. So he's not an ordinary. And there's that other pastime of Prithu Maharaj. He was taking the horses from Prithu Maharaj, and Krishna came with Indra, and he was like a mediator. And, you know, forgive him, you know, he made an offense, and then they kind of, you know, so it's pretty interesting. So, and Lord Vishnu came with Indra and said, you know, forgive him. Sometimes he goes off a little bit, but, you know, he's a demigod. So very interesting. Not an ordinary person, although he does make some mistakes here and there. Yes, Prabhu.
In this regard, Prabhu, even in the Mahabharata war, like Arjuna, he tries to kill Bhishma Dev, and he also fights with this like Brahmana Dronacharya. And Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight, yes, but isn't it the same like for Indra in this case? Like Narayan wanted Indra to kill Vṛtrāsura. Vṛtrāsura also wanted to be killed by Indra. So how is this like a...
Because Bhishma is also a pure devotee.
Yes.
Yeah, good point. Well, this Bhishma had a relationship with Krishna in chivalry. And Krishna was also shooting arrows at Bhishma, and Bhishma was shooting arrows at Krishna. It's amazing, pretty amazing. But how was it? They were being felt like flowers. Loving exchange, like pretty amazing, kind of inconceivable. But yeah, Bhishma just, I mean, this is a pastime of Krishna and Bhishma. He happened to be on the wrong side. And the end result of that was Bhishma, he spoke wonderfully. You know, actually a huge part of the Mahabharata is Bhishma giving instructions to Yudhisthira. And one of the most amazing that I find is that he said, no one can understand the plan of Krishna. No one can understand the plan of Krishna. So it's difficult to understand the plan of Krishna. Yeah. Did you have a question? Yes.
I want to start off saying thank you for your expression of interpretation. It's real nice. And the next thing I want to put in is that, yeah, you heard the saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And what you're saying about the curse, it's kind of like the same thing. One man's curse is another man's blessing, right? But what I really want to question is that to really confirm what you just said earlier about the story is a demon, right? Was Vṛtrāsura a demon? So a demon becomes like a devotee, someone saintly, and somebody like Indra, supposedly like a god of order, ends up doing dirty work, and someone known for doing dirty work ends up doing virtuous work. Is that correct? Right?
The last part, I think,
because Indra ends up killing
Vṛtrāsura.
So yeah. It's like the papers switch, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a interesting pastime.
Yeah.
And it's not over yet, so it becomes more interesting.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Thank you for bringing this chapter home. That was really nice. Been waiting for that for a long time. That action is really, really awesome. That last purport that begins by, it's crediting Vishwanath Chakravartī Ṭhākura with having that wonderful, he's like going deep into the text and explaining what's really happening. And so that made me think, how is he getting that source information? That's really awesome information, and it's so much deeper than, you know, what's on the surface there, the Bhagavatam. So, and you know, he lived a while ago. So how is he getting that information, do you think?
Well, Vishwanath Chakravartī Ṭhākura was an extremely elevated devotee. So much so that there was a commentary needed on the Vedanta Sutra. This is about, 500 years ago? Less, 400 years ago. And he was the person chosen to do a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. He was the most elevated devotee, just known in Vrindavan, just no question. But he was elderly, so he asked his disciple to do it, and he wrote the Govinda Bhashya, Baladev Vijabhushan. And he is also an extremely exalted devotee. He's a disciple of Vishwanath Cakravartī Ṭhākura. So Vishwanath Cakravartī Ṭhākura, he's on an extremely high level of devotional service, and therefore he was able to understand this statement that we hear here in the Bhagavatam. Very exalted devotee, inconceivable, Mahabhagavat. So therefore he understands these things. Good question, thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Śrīla Prabhupada ki.